Hey y'all, got a few Texas border updates for you, and I want to keep you guys in the loop. First, the Take Our Borders Back convoy, or the Take Our Border Back convoy rather, has left Virginia en route to Eagle Pass, Texas, the site where the state of Texas has taken over control of that location where illegal immigrants had been pouring in, even with the assistance from Border Patrol at times. Yes, that's the location where the Biden administration told the Border Patrol to cut razor wire and remove obstructions that Texas had already placed there. Then Texas decided, we're going to take over, we're going to declare an emergency, declare an invasion, and do this on our own. Texas has set up a ton of razor wire, as well as shipping containers and Connex boxes to secure the border. And they're doing it in more places than just Eagle Pass as well. Now, they say that this convoy could have as many as 40,000 truckers join in by the time they get to Texas on Friday. Hopefully they do get some support, because other countries are standing against tyranny. Look what's going on with the farmers in France. And we should do it as well. Absolutely. Now, before I tell you about the other updates, I want to tell you about Blackout Coffee. We at Blackout Coffee want you to ditch woke coffee companies and their low-quality roasts. Support a company that stands for traditional American values and get some great coffee as well. We source the best coffee beans in the world, and we do the rest in-house. From roasting to grinding, flavoring to packaging, heck, we even make our own K-Cups. Over 30 flavors to choose from if normal Freedom Nectar isn't your jam, of course. blackoutcoffee.com/GNG. Link is down below. Check it out. I'll give you a code to save 10% on your order. It's GNG10. Links down below. Now let's get back to Texas. The Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick said today that Texas remains committed to the construction of razor wire and additional fencing along the U.S.-Mexico border. His quote was, "We are diligently installing wire barriers wherever possible. Our efforts will persist unwavering. Even if it is tampered with, we will promptly restore it." Now, the amount of states supporting Texas has grown as well. Georgia has finally joined the coalition, and that now brings it up to 27 states. Georgia joins the Arizona state legislature because the governor or the attorney general apparently haven't gotten on board. If you live in Arizona, fix that. Burn up the phone lines, get those ass clowns in check. But again, Georgia, Arizona state's legislature, Alabama, Alaska, Arkansas, Florida, Idaho, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, New Hampshire, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Utah, Virginia, West Virginia, and Wyoming are all supporting the United States of America, a state in need, saying we need to secure our country. The rest of y'all states, if they're not on this list, you might want to start putting pressure on them. Now, that group that I just mentioned, those states, sent a letter to Joe Biden and the Department of Homeland Security yesterday, and it's a pretty good one. Let's talk about it. As always, here is the letter on the screen. And like I said, it was sent to the White House and Alejandro Mayorkas, who should be impeached any day now. It said, "Dear President Biden and Secretary Mayorkas, America is facing an unprecedented border crisis. Since Inauguration Day, more than 6 million illegal immigrants have crossed the southern border. That is effectively adding the population of Iowa and Utah to our country in less than 3 years. The federal government has failed to staunch this flow. We, undersigned attorneys general from Iowa, Utah, Alabama, Alaska, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Idaho, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, New Hampshire, North Dakota, Oklahoma, Ohio, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, and Wyoming, and the leadership of the Arizona state legislature, now write, given our unique perspective and expertise in law enforcement and border-related issues. Governor Abbott's efforts to secure our border and Attorney General Paxton's work defending those efforts must be supported rather than opposed. We are a nation of laws, and without a border, we would quickly cease to be a nation at all. Texas's efforts to support the border do not violate the recent Supreme Court order in Department of Homeland Security versus Texas. Further, states have an independent duty to defend against invasion. Finally, the crisis at the border requires the executive branch to enforce the law. The current lawsuit. Through its Operation Lone Star, intended to aid Border Patrol in its core functions, Texas sent manpower to the southern border and built physical barriers to prevent some of the millions of illegal crossings. Some of these barriers are made with concertina wire placed on Texas landowners' land with their permission. In some places, with the wire, illegal border crossings dropped by more than 2/3. Texas often placed this wire in collaboration with Border Patrol itself. That leads to the current legal dispute between the federal government and Texas, with the former trying to destroy border barriers and Texas trying to build them. Under the most recent Supreme Court order, both can continue. The federal agencies that act at your discretion have since flip-flopped on wanting a secure border, particularly in Eagle Pass, Texas, a city with a population of fewer than 30,000. Border Patrol repeatedly cut holes in the wire to let illegal immigrants into the country. In 1 month, it did so more than 20 times. In one instance, Border Patrol used a forklift to lift the wire to let more than 300 people crossing the Rio Grande into Texas. That is when Texas sued. The district court found that the federal government was ignoring its duty to protect the border and that many of its arguments were cynical and disingenuous. It found not only that the facts stated above were true, but that Border Patrol could access both sides of the wire without compromising the barrier created. It therefore ordered the federal government not to cut, crush, or forklift Texas's wire. The Supreme Court has not overturned any of the district court's factual findings. Instead, it issued, without explanation, a 5-4 order pausing the injunction against the federal government. Federal agents are no longer prohibited by a court order from destroying Texas's wire, but neither has Texas been ordered to stop repairing or replacing the wire. As lawyers yourselves, you must know that reports that Texas is ignoring or defying the Supreme Court are wrong, either misunderstanding or deliberately misstating the law. Even far-left law professors admit there's no way Abbott could defy that ruling. The Supreme Court's order did not tell Texas that it could or could not do anything. Texas should be applauded for continuing to try to protect the border despite the federal government now, again, being able to try to destroy the barriers Texas builds. Texas's building barriers to secure its 1,200-mile border reflects its duty to defend against invasion. States must be able to defend themselves from invasion. No one seriously contests that point. Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3 lays out the circumstances that states may act to defend themselves in a crisis, including when they are actually invaded. Justice Scalia said it best in his dissent in Arizona v. United States. States have a sovereign interest in protecting their borders. Right now, cartels, terror groups, and other bad actors are taking advantage of the chaos by the border to orchestrate a mass influx of people. Gangs are using the flood of people to hide their predator members as they enter the United States. Millions of people illegally coming into Texas as part of a coordinated assault on our border is an invasion. No state, not even Texas, can handle such an influx of people. And no one, not Texas, not the United States, knows whether any person illegally crossing the border is engaging in additional criminal activity. For example, the New York Times reports that an increasing number of illegal migrants arrested at the southern border over the past year are on the United States terror watch list. The federal government should be working to stop this crisis, but it is not. And the Constitution's guarantee clause requires that the federal government do so. It must protect each state against invasion, but it has abandoned its duty. Nothing in the Constitution stops Texas from stepping up and doing its part to protect itself, and in doing so, also protecting states across the country. To those that contend this power belongs only to Congress, they should take that up with the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, who stands with Texas. By following the Constitution, Texas is doing what the federal government has failed to do. Texas's efforts are necessary attempts to stop the ongoing border crisis. Your administration is doing more than impeding Texas's attempts to enforce the law. Indeed, your administration is helping individuals complete their illegal entry into the United States. It is this administration's policies that have magnetized the southern border to attract ever greater numbers into attempting illegal immigration. It is this administration's deliberate refusal to enforce immigration law, indeed, its deliberate subversion of that law to grant to illegal immigrants benefits to which they are legally barred, that has encouraged millions of people to place themselves in hock to murderous criminal cartels at the mercy of rapists and into the hands of modern-day slavers, as these sex and child traffickers are more properly called. DHS has still failed to account for over 85,000 missing children, many placed in the hands of probable traffickers by HHS. As only two examples, your administration's circumvention of law pathways rule turns the presumptions in our asylum system on their head and uses the federal government's own resources to facilitate illegal immigration into the United States. And your expansion of work authorization for those paroled into the U.S., paroles that are themselves violations of federal law, even further increases the incentives for illegal immigrants to risk themselves on a task that federal law explicitly bans. Until you reverse the policies that tell people they will be rewarded for their attempts to violate American immigration law, your administration engenders the very human misery it purports to oppose. What happens at the border does not stay at the border. That is why 25 governors signed a statement supporting Texas. Reports from around the country show migrants sleeping in public facilities and airports. A New York school's housing migrants led to a justified backlash from parents whose children were forced back into the remote school model that so comprehensively failed during the COVID shutdowns. Encouraging further illegal immigration from Central America means encouraging a system in which people are drugged, sexually assaulted, and raped, a humanitarian disaster. Once in the country, many illegal immigrants become part of a system that undermines worker protections. What you should do is simple: enforce the law and protect the border. And despite some recent suggestions that you should nationalize control of the Texas National Guard as a ruse, we would like to remind you that you cannot do so without legal authority that you currently lack. If you cannot bring yourself to enforce the law, get out of the way so Texas can. And then you can see everybody who signed the letter here. Pause it if you need to. So there you have it, guys. That's your Texas update. I know things will probably change again. I will bring it to you. Subscribe to this channel if you want to stay in the know. I think this is big, guys. We are, like I said in an earlier video, we're as close to 1776 as we've ever been since 1776. And if you don't think the government's probably doing this for a reason, you have not been paying attention. Stay armed, be safe, stay vigilant, and carry a gun to keep you, your friends, your family, your community safe. You never know when evil will see you face to face, eye to eye, and you may need to react just like that. You can't even dial 911 that fast, never mind hope a cop gets there that fast. You are your own first responder. Never, ever forget that. And the Biden administration's putting us in a worse spot. I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.